This is my weekly Here to Help You webinar. I do these calls once a week for you guys to come on here and do some sort of little presentation or a demo or play a video. Once in a while we have a special guest. We rarely have a guest, but once in a while we do have one. I do these calls weekly on Mondays, and it's generally the 8 o'clock Eastern time frame, which we're going to talk about that tonight. I do have an announcement about these webinars. But I do these calls once a week just to give you guys a chance to hopefully learn a little something. I answer your questions that I've got through the replay on the webinar replay. There's always a form where you can submit questions, and then any emails that I got where I feel like, the question might be a good one to share on these calls. I answer those as well for you guys here on the call. Then, of course, if you have any questions here on the call, if I can, I try to answer them live so that, you guys can get answers, immediately if at all possible. Like I said, I do these calls once a week it's just for you guys. There's rarely ever anything for sale on these calls. Once in a while you might hear me mention something that's coming up for sale or something that I'm releasing. It's not that I'm wanting to sell you on it, it's just I want to make you aware of it so that you can be looking for more info on it. So with that said, if you read yesterday's email, over the weekend I started feeling a little bit better, and actually yesterday I felt the best that I have in the past few days, and I got to playing around with a new video editor that just came out. Did any of you guys pick up Video Wave? So apparently nobody on the call did. Well, it's not, like I said before, I don't promote all these things that come out because, I feel like most of it's just eye candy stuff you've already got something that does the same thing. It's just another flavor of doing the same thing that you've already got the software to do. But the only thing that intrigued me about Video Wave was the use of those animated characters, and I can see a need for that. But the biggest reason why I want it is because it is an online video editor. Now, it's not full function like Camtasia is or anything like that, and probably YouTube's video editor probably has more features than Video Wave does, but YouTube's video editor is really hard to use. I mean, you just about have to be a rocket scientist to use theirs properly. It's just not set up easily for anybody to use. So I picked it up, while it was on the launch special and was playing around with it yesterday. Like I said, one of the biggest attractions to it was, that use of those animated video clips that you could use in your recordings. So yesterday I got to playing around. I got a little silly and I created something that's a good little training, but it's got some edutainment value to it too. So I wanted to play that video for you guys. It's the first part of the training. And then I've got actually a second part we're going to go into after this. So.
Hello, folks. Sean Mize here. And I tell you, I just had a brainstorm, and I've taught on this some recently, in and out. But I just feel that I really need to just drive something home here. Okay. First of all, I want to say this: I don't have an outline in front of me. If I get off on a couple of rabbit trails, bear with me. I'm going to try to keep this short, literally 5 or 10 minutes. But I really want to drive something home for you. Okay. And when I tell you what it's going to be, you're going to think, well, duh, yeah, of course. But I want you to take this one step further and ask yourself, okay, well, if it's so simple, if it's duh, yeah, of course, why isn't it working in my business? Okay? So here it is. You want to make money online. I don't know what your number is. I don't know if you want to make $1,000 online, you want to, an extra car payment or two a month. I don't know if you want to make $5,000 online a month. I don't know if you want to make 10, 20 grand a month online. You want to go full time. I don't know. You do. You know what that number is. Okay? And if you're listening to this, my guess is you're not at that number. Okay? So you're either at nothing and you want to do 1,000 a month, or you're $1,000 a month and you want to do $5,000, or you're $5,000 and you want to do 20. You're not there. And perhaps you keep asking yourself, and perhaps you asking others, well, what do I need to do to make more money? Okay? And you probably heard a lot of things lately. You know, you've probably heard about how you've got to drive more traffic, or how you need to create more products, or how you need to get better SEO rankings, or how you need to do social media, or whatever the case is. Okay, maybe you've tried some of these things. Maybe you've tried all of them, and you're not making the kind of money that you want. Okay, here's the, well, duh, yeah, right. Okay, if you want to make money online, you've got to sell something. Let me repeat it. If you want to make money online, you've got to sell something. Now, I can hear you now. You're saying, well, duh, yeah. Okay, so there's another part to this. If you're going to make money online, you have to sell something to somebody. Okay, so really that's all you need. You need something to sell and people to sell it to. Again, and obviously you've got to have a mechanism for selling it to them. So an email campaign, sales letters, that kind of thing. But the thing is, what I'm feeling is that so many of you are focusing on social media or traffic gen or writing articles or blog posts or writing your book or videos. You're focusing on all these things, but they're not useful at all because they don't fit into a system where you have people that want to buy from you and you have something to sell. Because if you do everything right, but you have nothing to sell or you don't have people to buy, you're not going to make money online. Period. It's not going to happen. I mean, obviously, there's other models out there, and you can sell advertising, or, you know, there's other kinds of things that you can do, you know, if you want, that don't fall under an information marketing umbrella. If you sell products online, you've got to have products to sell, and you've got to have people. Okay, so let's talk about people. Where do you get people from? People come from having a squeeze page that offers some free item in exchange for their name and email. When you get their name and email on your autoresponder, so Aweber, Infusionsoft, GetResponse, whatever, okay, that's your people. When they join your list, they are now people you can sell to, okay? You have to get people on your list. You see, if you want to make money online, you have to have your list. Okay, now, once people are on your list, then you're going to send them emails, find out what they need, find out what they want, what are their challenges, and then you're going to create products to sell them. In the meantime, you can use affiliate products as a crutch if you want. Okay, so let's go back to the squeeze page. You have a squeeze page. You want to see an example of a squeeze page? Go over to easyinarticles.com and hunt down my articles. Okay? If everything's working over there like it's supposed to, there should be a squeeze page at the end of almost every article. I think there may be one that doesn't have one. Okay? You want to see an example. Okay, now, so how do you get people to your squeeze page? Well, you're going to drive traffic. You're going to drive targeted traffic. Okay. Targeted traffic. That means you're going to do things that entice people to want to come to your website. Okay, you're not going to go out and buy 1 billion guaranteed hits. Hits are, they're not people that are really interested in you. Okay, so what are some ways that people are interested in you? Well, maybe you write blog posts. Okay, but you can't use that as a crutch. If you're writing blog posts and nobody's clicking through, well, you're not doing it right. You're not getting the word out that you have a blog. You can't just write them in a vacuum. Okay? If you're writing articles and you're not getting enough leads from them, well, maybe you either A, need to do more articles, or maybe you need to say, you know what, articles aren't going to get me the traffic that I need. It's okay. Articles don't work for everybody. Okay. Another way to drive that traffic would be to buy relevant advertising. That might be banner advertising or pay-per-click or something like that, but relevant. Okay, don't take a bucket out there and everybody that's even possibly related to maybe being interested in your niche. You spend money to get them on your list. You don't want them. You only want people that are desperately need what you have. Another way to do it is to find people that have lists out there in your niche and offer them a few $100 to mail their list. They mail their list. They tell everybody on their list, hey, John's pretty cool and he can teach you a few things, or Mary's pretty cool, she can teach you a few things. I suggest you download this free thing that she's got on her site. Okay, and you get 100, 200, 300 subscribers. Costs you a couple, $300. Okay, it'll run you $1 or $2 per subscriber. Okay, and now you got 300 people on your list. Maybe you go out and you do it again and again and again. There's lots of other ways you can drive traffic. Okay, I don't teach a whole lot on driving traffic. What I really teach on is how to convert traffic into buyers. Okay, how to make that traffic really, really convert. I don't drive a lot of traffic myself. You know, I don't have huge Alexa rankings. Okay, instead, I really focus on if somebody joins my list, they're probably going to buy from me or they're going to drop off the list and stop opening emails. There's a real filtering process. Okay? So back to the formula, you must drive traffic to a squeeze page to get people on your list. If you're not doing that, you're not making any money. If you're not putting people on your list, you'll never make any money. Okay? I mean, never is a big word. Obviously, you know, 1 in a million people or 1 in 500,000 people are able to go out there and make pay-per-click profitable so that they just send it to a sales page, right? I mean, in most cases, you got to have a list and build a relationship with people. That's why all your competition has lists, right? I mean, go Google them. They all have a list, right? Okay. The second thing you got to do is have products. You've got to sell to them. And, you know, that can be high-ticket coaching if you want to. It can be low-ticket products, or it could be anything in between. But you got to have things to sell them. And you've got to have more than one thing to sell them. Really. You've got to have more than one thing to sell them. Now, one way to do it is to sell a coaching program. If you have a coaching program, you might as well have a few products. Sell both. Some people buy products, some people buy your coaching program. You can't, in my opinion, you can't just have one product. In some months, as much as 80% of my revenue comes from people that have already bought from me. Well, if I only had one product, I would do 80% less revenue those months, right? Because they would have already bought the product. The only way that I generate as much revenue as I do per subscriber is because I have multiple products that people can buy. There's like 50 or 100 products. I've lost count. I don't even know how many products there are. Okay, and the only way that people buy and buy and buy and buy from me, maybe you're one of the people that's bought 3 or 4 times from me. Well, if I only had one product, you never would have bought 3 or 4 times, right? So you've got to have multiple products. You could even have multiple coaching programs. I have multiple coaching programs. Okay, I just wanted to show. I told you I was going to keep this short. I told you it was going to be like a duh, yeah, right, aha moment. I hope it's more of an aha than a duh, yeah, right moment, okay? But I just felt like I needed to share this with you. I mean, obviously, a short call like this, I mean, I'm not going to be able to teach you how to get traffic. I've got products that do that. I'm not trying to schlep them either, okay? So I'm not giving you any URLs, okay? I just want you to, and same thing with products. If you don't know how to create products, you need to learn how. And whether you buy something from me that teaches you how, or buy it from somebody else, there's plenty of other good people out there that can teach you how to create products. Same thing with traffic. If you don't know how to drive traffic, there's plenty of good people out there to teach you how. Or I can teach you. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You got to learn from somewhere. Okay? Okay, I think that's it. A quick review. You must build a list. In order to build a list, you have to have a squeeze page that offers something free, and you've got to drive targeted traffic. Okay? And then the second thing that you must do, sell them products. You cannot send them one email a week or one email a month selling the same thing over and over again and just hope they'll decide that they just want to come buy things that you don't even have exist. Okay? You've got to have multiple products, and you've got to send emails out that say, look, if you need this, buy it. Oh, and by the way, they need to be non-offensive emails so that if somebody decides not to buy it, they'll open your next. Not everybody's bought all of them, of course not. But after they read the sales letter, for one, they're like, it won't really work for me, but I haven't offended them, so they'll come back and read the next one. And then maybe occasionally I offend somebody and they get off the list. It's a filtering process. Okay, so and I'll leave it to you. Traffic, list, sell them what they need. Okay, that's it. Sean Mize, signing off.
Okay, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed that little satirical humorous video that I applied to Sean's message there. That's actually the second time that I've done something like it with one of Sean's trainings. A couple years ago, I found this website that would take an image and you could make parts of the image movable. And I found a picture of a frog and I made his jaw move. And what the software did on that website is anytime there was audio, it would make that part of the image move which you selected. So like I said, I selected the frog's lower jaw so that every time Sean would say something, the frog would open his mouth. I didn't do quite a whole training with that one. I just did like a couple of minutes. But I was playing with that software yesterday, and that just gave me the idea to do something, a little silly like that. So I thought I'd show that to you guys. That software, like I said, the main reason I got it was for the use of those animated video clips. And if you're watching the actual video that I made, I don't know how well it came through for you guys on this streaming thing. I mean, for me, it would pause every once in a while. But if you're watching the actual video I created, it does move a whole lot smoother than what I was seeing here on the screen. Probably what you guys were seeing as well. But the big value out of that software is one thing, it's an online video editor. It's a lot easier to use than YouTube editor if you want to do, an instant video right there on the spot. It's great for that. Then two, those little animated clips, they make great promotional videos. James said during the play that it's a great way to add video to an audio message. And along that lines, Sean sold resale rights to his trainings over and over again. I guess you all have seen that. And one of his courses I took and turned into a product, a video product. And what I did with it is I listened to the parts of the training over and over again and made notes of key points in the timeline where I could make a split in the training and insert my own questions into it like I was interviewing him. And that turned out really well. I did it like I was doing a PowerPoint presentation here where I came on and initially introduced him and he took off with the training, and then in certain points I would split the training he was doing and I would insert one of my questions and then let the rest of the audio play, and it looked like I was doing a live webinar interview with him and using his training as the content. So that's thinking outside the box with products that you get like that, where you can't really rebrand them with your name, but there's other ways of using them. You've seen one example tonight of something you can do with it to give it some little edutainment value to it. What I just told you about what I done with one of his courses, I took one of his list building courses and turned it into a series of live question answer webinars. And when you do something like that, it adds a different value to it. It's something that nobody has seen before, and it actually becomes a new product. A great example of taking source file that you have rights to manipulate and use in your own way and turn it into something brand new. But anyway, like I said, I bought that software just to be able to do videos online quicker and easier than using the YouTube editor. And a little silly with it yesterday, I just thought I would put that little cat guy on there like he was teaching the lesson. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Like I said, it was a good message, and I just wanted to spice it up a little bit. What was the name of the software? It's Video Wave. It's called Video Wave. I didn't promote it. I didn't even request an affiliate link on it. It's not something I plan on promoting. It's just something I wanted to have in my arsenal in case I wanted to do a really quick video or a promo video. It's going to be great for promo videos. They have several, couple, 3 dozen little video animated clips in there, and there are various types of people in them videos. So, it's going to be great for promo videos. So anyway, like I said, that was something I just wanted to show you guys. This is something I was playing around with. Like I said, this call is going to be a little short, but I do have another training for you guys, and it's actually in the Q&A section. So let's move to the Q&A slide here. Since last week, I was kind of out of things last week, and I answered, most emails that I got, and I got two questions that I held off for this call tonight. Both of them are really good questions, and I think this is information people needs to know. That's why I held on to them, and I let the people know that I was going to hold the answer off until tonight. The first one talks about selling a product where you have both an online purchase option and an offline purchase option. And they wanted to know, would putting something like prefer to pay by check, and then it gives an email address to contact the person if you wanted to pay by check for details. In other words, a way of accepting offline payments for an online product or service that you're offering. Is there a good way of doing that that wouldn't deter sales? In other words, make people think about it too much, and would it possibly help increase sales? So that was the question, and I've actually done this, and I have experience with this, and I don't really have any stats to give you on it, but I do know that done properly, it can be another way of collecting revenue for people that are maybe afraid to use their credit card online. And there are people that don't trust PayPal. Believe it or not, there are people that just do not trust PayPal. So what you can do in a case like that, if you're wanting to offer the option of an offline payment for something that you're selling online, is create an order form. A simple order form that the person fills out their name, their address, and if it's in the case of something where you have to generate a login info access form, give them the opportunity to select what they'd want to use for the login and the password, and try to use it if you can. If you can't, sometimes people put stuff in you can't use. Sometimes membership sites want to use an email address instead of a username. Sometimes it's just the opposite, or sometimes they want stronger passwords and people don't give you a good password. They give you something really simple and the software won't accept it. But what you can do is, like I said, create a form in Word that's just basically asking their information. You want to get their name, a correct mailing address, and you need to specify on the form that they need to get one of their utility bills, like their light bill, their phone bill, their water bill, something that they get every single month in the mail, and use that address. That way you've got a good address, because I've sold things online where I've accepted an order form for a payment and they give you a wrong address. Now, in the case of selling something online, it's not such a big deal, because you do initially have contact with them some way online. Otherwise, they would have never got to your page to download the form to fill out. But in the case of actually shipping them something, that's when it's really critical that you get a good mailing address, and it's best to tell people, to use one of their utility bills to fill out the address portion of the form, and then tell them to include either a check or money order. And then in the case of a check, you want to have a statement on it that says that checks are processed usually within 7 days, and then you will get your access info, whatever it might be. So does it help with sales? Again, you have people, and depending on what you're selling and your target market that you're going for, you may have people that don't want to pay online for anything. They don't want to use their credit card. They don't want to use PayPal. They don't want to bank transfers. They don't want to do any of that. And that's understandable, especially with older people that aren't used to the internet. But they're interested in what you have, and they want access to it. So you run across that occasionally, people that do want to do mail in of a check or a money order. Now, it doesn't necessarily increase sales. It will increase sales if you run across those few people that are like that. And it wouldn't deter sales, especially if on the sales page itself where you had this verbiage on here about being able to fill out a form and mail in a check or money order. If you explain to people that there is a delay in getting your account set up this way, most people want instant gratification. So, if they know it's going to take, 12 to 14 days before they get access to whatever it is you're selling them, that could be the switch that flips them over to, going ahead and using PayPal or whatever. But as far as having stats on whether it actually increases sales, the only thing I can say about it increasing sales is it would help the people that are afraid to spend money or use their credit cards online. That's the only thing it's going to increase is those few people that are still skittish of doing that online. A quicker way of doing it, and this is really really old school, but it's people still do it, is to actually have them fax a copy of the form and a copy of the check that they were going to mail to you. You can get check by fax software at just about any office supply store. And once you install the software, you enter the info in it and you print it out, and all banks will accept that. It creates a barcode along the bottom that the banks can read, and they will accept it. So that's a little faster, but it does mean you have to have fax capabilities. And that, like I said, that's really old school, but some people still do that, especially with buying leads. If you're going to buy leads from one of the major lead providers, a lot of them still have the option of paying offline for the leads, and most of them will still have the check by fax option. I tried it for a little while, didn't get much response with it, so I quit fooling with it because most of those check by fax softwares are fairly expensive, and I got a trial run of it somewhere online. I found a trial run of one and didn't get much response with it, so I never bought it. But I do know they sell them at all the office supply stores because a lot of offline businesses do take check by fax still yet. So, that would be my answer to that question. If you wanted to offer that option, make it a downloadable form that they fill out and they mail to you with the check. That way, at least if you tell them to email you, you're just creating more steps in the process of collecting the money. If they actually print out a form and fill it out, they're halfway there to walking to the mailbox with the check anyway. They're at least halfway there thinking about buying what you want to sell. So not a lot of people offer that option anymore. I don't offer it on anything else anymore. I quit doing it years ago. I don't know. Like I said, you just have to try it and see if it helps. It does add another element into your payment process, having to keep up with those people that you contact them and let them. If it's something that's recurring, or marketing to them again, if you don't have their email, if they don't provide an email, it makes marketing to them harder as well. So, there's a few caveats to it, but I can see where, it can help depending on what you're selling and the target market that you're going for. It can have some benefits, but it's not going to have a lot of benefits to, in my opinion, be worth doing. But, depending on what you're selling in the target market, it could be something viable for you. Okay, and then the next question that I got, and this one was another good question that I could actually do a training just on this question, and I actually created a product about answering this question. The question is what is a good strategy for posting on Facebook to promote? Now, they didn't say what they're going to promote, but I imagine they're going to promote their products, or maybe if they were talking about affiliate products, they may have been talking about that. But anyway, they want to know what's a good posting strategy for Facebook. And like I said, I've done individual trainings on Facebook and posting, and I've done a complete social media strategy. My Mass Attack social media is all about all four of the major social media networks that, as marketers, you should be participating in. So I wanted to answer this question in a summarized form, that I hope will make sense to you. And like I said, it's a summary of the actual training that I have out on this. And for this, I'm going to switch to the whiteboard. We're going to play with the whiteboard tonight. Here is a social media posting strategy, and this could actually apply to just about any social media network, but the question was specifically about Facebook. And the first thing I want to say about posting on Facebook and really any other social media is that people don't go to social media sites to be sold. They don't. They go there to connect with their family, their friends, or other business colleagues, and to see what people are sharing and get news information, maybe things that are happening, current events. They want to know what people's opinions are. They want to know what's going on with some of their friends and family, what they're into, maybe event notices and that kind of thing. They're not going there to be sold. So that's the first mistake people make with trying to use any social media network is they go on there and think that all they have to do is just keep posting about their sales and somebody's going to buy it. And really, it turns people off if that's all you're ever posting is about something you're trying to sell them. You're going to lose friends. You're going to lose followers. They're not going to pay attention to you. They're going to start to ignore you, and they'll start to block your messages. So that's the first mistake people make is thinking they always have to be selling something on there. They've been told that all you got to do is keep posting links or keep posting images that redirect somewhere, and you're going to get sales. And true, you might get a few, but you're not going to get the kind you would get if you did it the proper way. So I have a little simple strategy that I call in K.I.D.S. Kids. You've heard of KISS, keep it simple, stupid? Well, this is another acronym you'll want to remember. And this is a social media strategy, like I said, that can apply to just about any social network. So let's start with the K. What does the K stand for? The K stands for no. And what I mean by no is you want to be seen on the social network in some sort of a regularity basis, some sort of a regular basis. In other words, you want to make your presence known there. And how do you do that? So all you have to do to be shown as being a regular visitor to that social network is just liking, sharing, and commenting on other people's content that they've posted, whether it be, posts or images or whatever it might be, videos, whatever it might be. Just on some sort of a regular basis, going in and liking and making little comments and, every now and then sharing something that, you feel is, worth sharing on some of the social networks. And we're particularly talking about Facebook here, so I'm going to tailor most of this to Facebook. So a good strategy would be, let's say you're in a niche about polka dancing. Let's say polka dancing. You've got a book with some dance steps and you've got a video training on how to polka dance. You got a website all about polka dance, maybe with AdSense ads or something, some sort of ads on it. Maybe you're doing CPA or whatever. Who knows? Anyway, what you'd want to do is you want to find 5 groups and a couple or 3 fan pages in that niche that are active. In other words, you see recent posts in the groups and you see recent posts on the fan page. So in other words, you know that it's an active fan page, you know that it's an active group. Groups are actually the best. Fan pages are okay, but sometimes fan pages are moderated. Well, sometimes groups are moderated too. But all you want to do is just find, a good, 5 groups and a couple 3 fan pages and just visit them daily and just like and comment for, a little while, for, good couple weeks. And on Facebook, when you like something, it shows your name in a list of people that like something. Make a comment or two on a couple of the posts per day. Just do this in like the mid morning hours and then the after supper hours. Whatever your time zone is, you don't try to hit any other specific time zones unless you know for a fact that all of the people in that Facebook group are all in one time zone. Then you might want to try to tailor it to that time zone. But just spend 5 to 10 minutes a day just going in there and clicking like and maybe making a comment and occasionally sharing something. After a couple of weeks, you get to be seen as always coming there every day and, being a little active in that group or over on that fan page. They get to where they see your name on a consistent basis. So that's the K, the know part. Get it where people know you. They recognize you when you're actually doing something on one of the groups or the fan pages. The I stands for infiltrate. Now, you might think by infiltrate that means you're going there and doing something sneaky, or you're in there doing something that's underhanded, or you're trying to spy on them or some way. But no, that's not what you're trying to do. What you're wanting to do with the infiltrate is after people get to know and they see that you're a fairly regular person there, you come there almost every day or every day, and you're commenting, you're liking, and you're sharing some of the stuff that's been shared. Put some of your own stuff on there to invoke comments and shares and likes. Now, these can be little short things, or it can be something long drawn out. I know you've seen on some of the Facebook groups, somebody will post a post, that scrolls all the way down the page. It don't have to be nothing huge like it. It can be something simple. It could be something just asking, a question that you're wanting to get answers to. But just, couple times during the week, post something on there that's relevant to the group that people will interact with, so that they will start liking and commenting and sharing what you've posted in there. And like I said, it needs to be, not ordinary stuff that you see everywhere, that you get from a Google search. It's the first thing you find. You don't want to take something like that and share that. You want to find something that's a little different from what everybody else is saying. And it's good if you can do it in your own words. If you can take something, a little tidbit of information or a question, and rewrite it in your own words, that's even better if you can do that, because it starts building your brand and your style by doing that. And another key point I want to make to this is whatever you post, don't have an external link in it. In other words, have every bit of the information right there on that post that you make. Don't pull people away from the group or away from the fan page to go check out whatever it is that you're sharing. And the reason for that, now there's two reasons actually for that. One reason is a lot of the fan page owners and group moderators and group owners, they don't like for you to post external links. Now, it's not a big thing, for the most part, probably 70 to 90% of them probably don't care. But the second reason is when you post something that leads to an external link, you're pulling people away from your post. And once you divert people's attention to another website, well, then it's a high probability that they're not going to like, or they're not going to share, or they're not going to comment what you've posted, because they've been distracted over to another website. They've forgotten all about the social network they were on. They've been distracted over to another uh, website. And a good 50-60% of the people will never go back, to your post and do anything with it. So in building yourself up on Facebook to getting ready to promote your things, you want to try to keep the people on Facebook as much as possible. Don't try to pull them away from Facebook. Okay, so the third thing, the D. The D stands for dominate. Now, by dominate, I don't mean go in there and take over the group or the fan page and just start posting like crazy and you're the only one that's doing all the posting. Don't do that. No, that's not what I mean by dominate. What I mean by dominate is doing the K and the I, the know and the infiltrate. You start to be seen as a go-to expert, somebody that has answers in the niche that you're working in. So you go in there and you make your likes and your comments on other people's stuff, make and share a little bit of their stuff on some, maybe your own groups, maybe you've got your own group or fan page, share them over on that, and you're answering people's questions that have questions, and they start to see you as not only as somebody that shows up on a regular basis, and also as somebody that's willing to share information, but they also see you as somebody that can answer questions, possibly an expert, somebody that knows more than most of the people coming there. Most of the people going to a fan page or a group, they're maybe just most of them are just getting started in that topic, whatever it is. So they start to see you as an expert. Now, once you start posting, and this is the infiltrate part, and you start to dominate by people seeing you as an expert on Facebook, you can do this, and you can do this over on some of the other social networks as well. Click on some of the names of people that have liked and shared or commented, and add them as a friend to your Facebook, your your main Facebook profile. Add them as a friend. And the reason why you want to do this is for the last thing that we're going to talk about. You want to add these people as, a friend. Most all of them are going to accept because, if you've been doing the K and the I and now you're being seen as an expert, most of them are going to accept you as a friend. Now, occasionally you're going to request somebody be a friend that's, going to be problems and post all kinds of crazy stuff that's going to show up on your news feed. That's one where you're going to want to hide their posts. But, it's going to be rare that that happens. So once they start seeing you as an expert and you start sharing your content and people are liking it and commenting on it, like I said, click on their name and add them as a friend. Don't send them any messages or anything, but just, add them as a friend just so that they start seeing the posts that you make on your personal profile in their newsfeed. So that leads us to the last part. The S stands for sales, and this is actually the part you're trying to work up to, how to make these sales. And by sales, I don't necessarily mean you're selling something. It could be you're building your list. It could be you're trying to build your own Facebook group. Could be that you're trying to get likes to your fan page. Whatever it is, your ultimate goal is what we're going to call S sales. In other words, you're succeeding in what your ultimate goal was with participating in this social network, which we're using Facebook as the prime example. You want to post stuff over on your own groups and your own fan pages, and in particular, your own Facebook profile, your main profile feed about whatever it is you're trying to do. Now, you don't want to make every post you do like that. You want to follow a good 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 ratio of posting stuff in your main profile feed that are the norm or what people are going to Facebook for. But like every third or fourth post, make it something that leads back to either your fan page or your group, or if you're list building, to a squeeze page, whatever it might be, whatever your goal is. And just follow a regiment of like that, of sprinkling in some sort of a sales goal oriented post towards whatever it is you're wanting to do with the Facebook um, strategies you're working. Now, if you follow this strategy, and like I said, this can apply to just about any social network, just about any of them. You have to vary it different ways for, like Instagram or Pinterest, because, they're not primarily text based, they're image based. But if you use this strategy with any of them, you're going to be more accepted. People are going to pay more attention to you. And eventually, like I said, once you get to the point where, you're making contributions of content that people see as relevant and important and worth, liking and sharing, you're going to start to be seen as the go-to expert, and then that's when people are going to really pay attention. And if you've got them coming to your profile, seeing your news feed, they're going to start paying attention to those sales posts or success posts, we'll call them, and start interacting with those and following through whatever your goal is to do with Facebook. So that's a good simple strategy. Like I said, this is a summarized version of my Mass Attack social media product. In it, I go through all four of the networks, giving you sort of a training sort of similar to this, but it's tailored to each one of them. So this was a really good question somebody sent me this week, and I thought I would share this with you guys just so you don't need always fancy tools people are selling to post stuff automatically for you over on Facebook. If you spend 5 to 10, no more than 15 minutes a day executing this little simple strategy right here, you'll be leaps and bounds ahead of every other marketer that's trying to do the same thing you're wanting to do. But you're going to be building, a good following of people that are interested and anxious, maybe even anxious to see the next thing that you post. And maybe they'll even be excited to see that you've actually liked and commented on some of their stuff. So this is a really good simple strategy, and it doesn't take long. You can pick one social network and execute this in 5 to 15 minutes a day. And like I said, if you can do a little bit of something in mid morning and a little bit of something after the dinner supper hours, that's when most people are on the social networks in the mid morning hours and then like after supper. That's when you'll get the most eyeballs on what you're doing on the social networks. So that was my little bit of training that, like I said, I could have made this a whole training just on answering this question. And like I said, I have a product that explains all of this in much greater detail on all four of the social networks. So anyway, that's the only two questions that I had for this week. I know both of them were a little lengthy answers, but I hope they helped you in some way, especially if you are one considering offering offline payments. There's a method for doing it that works the best instead of, complicating it by having them email you and starting another process of finally getting the payment. And then the simple social media strategies you can use for Facebook. Like I said, this works 100% for Facebook, and you can adapt it and change it in little ways and works for every other social network. Dana says, still confused about connecting with people on a personal Facebook profile. Well, we sort of talked about this in one of the webinars not long ago, where Facebook now, they don't want you to have multiple accounts. They never have wanted you to have multiple accounts. And for years, I still actually have 3 different Facebook accounts right now, but they're all personal accounts. I used to have a business account that I use strictly for business. And the only thing I ever done with it is I went in there and interacted with local area business people here in my area. And I made the mistake of doing, my profile name as my business company name. And Facebook eventually caught on to it and said that they didn't want me using Facebook in that way, that they were going to turn that profile I had created into a fan page. And when they did that, I thought, I don't know why I thought this, but I thought that they would take all the people that were on my friends list, which were all local area business people. I mean, I'd gotten up to about 400, 450 or so local area business people. I mean, I had lots of them in here in this area that were friends on that profile that I'd created. I thought they would convert them over to followers on the fan page. That's what they wanted to do, was turn that profile into a fan page. But lo and behold, they didn't. I lost every single one of them. So now I still have my main personal profile that I use, and I've reinvited a lot of those local area businesses as friends over on that personal profile. Now, the area I'm in and the target that I was going for local businesses, they're all in different niches, but I'm offering them a specific thing to help them with customer retention, customer satisfaction, and delivery of their products or that kind of thing. So, it applies to all of them. So, I do just like I said with, with the little training I gave you there. I share, a lot of personal stuff, and then every now and then I share something that's business related. Now, I don't particularly like doing Facebook that way, but that's the way Facebook wants you to do it now. They don't want you to have multiple accounts. They find out you have multiple accounts, they're going to cancel the extra accounts that you start up, and they may cancel every one of your accounts. That's about the only way you can handle it now with Facebook is, you just have to go ahead and intermix your personal with your business on Facebook now because they don't want you having a separate business account. There's been rumors for years that Facebook's going to start a business only membership level, but it's all been rumors. It's never come about, and they've been rumors that they're going to start charging for fan pages, and of course that's never happened either. You hear rumors like that all the time. People asking about Facebook that they're going to charge, and none of it's ever happened. Facebook wants you to spend money on advertising is what they want. They're not really into membership levels. They want you to spend money on advertising. Yeah, your timeline, your profile. Yeah, that's what I mean. Facebook now calls them timelines. Okay, we'll bring business friends into sometimes weird family stuff. Well, you know, that's the downside of social media. I mean, you're sharing sometimes, stuff that's only pertains to your family, about a reunion or a party or something like that, or a barbecue that you went to. Maybe it don't, it's not something that the business friends that you have are interested in. But another way of looking at it, it does show you as a real person, not somebody on there always trying to sell something. So, it does help in that respect. If they see you as a regular person, just like they are, because they all do those things too. They all have birthday parties and anniversaries and vacations and find something cool at a store or a restaurant that they really like to eat, and they share a picture of it. Put you in the same thing that they're doing. Anyway, this is the social media strategy that you can apply to any social network. You just may have to change it a little bit depending on the kind of content that you post there on the social network, and then how you actually get followers and friends, and how you actually make comments and share and like. But all of them have some sort of functionality for all of that. Okay, you guys have any other questions? 'Cause I got two announcements I want to make. Did that social media strategy make sense to you guys? Like I said, I got that question pretty close to the first part of this week or last week, and I held off on answering it because I wanted to just do a brief summary training here on the call for this, because this is something that people need to know about how you actually can use social media to get the most effect out of it. All right, guys. So, like I said, I got two announcements, and one of them pertains to these Here to Help You webinar calls. Starting next week on the 19th, next Monday, the 19th, I am on some Mondays, and could be a lot of Mondays, not going to be available for these calls. I'm getting ready to go into another little business venture that's going to take me away from the computer at this time frame on Monday nights, and actually several nights during the week. So what I'm thinking about doing is start doing some of these calls earlier in the day. And I've not really picked out a good time frame for it. I'm thinking somewhere around mid-afternoon, after lunch sometime. That'll open it up for some of the people in the UK that can't come to these calls because they're 6 hours ahead of us, and they can't come to these calls at 8 o'clock at night because they have to stay up to too late at night to come to them. So that would open it up for some of them. Some of you guys that work from home or are retired, and you would be able to come to the calls in the mid afternoons. And then there's going to be some people that work a day job that can't come to them because you'll be at work during those hours. But of course, that's what the replays would be for. But like I said, this starts next Monday. I definitely will not be here next Monday night for these calls. I'm probably what I'm going to do is post over in the Facebook group and maybe run a poll and see what would possibly be the best time in the afternoons to do this. So look for that to happen. Like I said, I know this is going to happen. It's something I'm getting ready to do, and I want to try it for a while and see how well it works out. If it don't work out, then I may go back to having my evenings open again. It also will open up the opportunity for more of the business strategy calls for you guys. If you guys want to schedule some of those during the day hours, I've been trying to schedule those for the evening hours, and it'll open up slots for that during the day hours as well. So anyway, like I said, I'll post over in the Facebook group, try to get some of your guys' opinions and comments on it, see what we can come up with for next Monday. The second announcement is on my newest membership site, the one where I'm not really co-partnering, but working with Sean Mice to provide daily lesson training and going through a core funnel strategy setup course and offer you guys daily coaching through email and then the business strategy calls with those. I got a lot of people that requested a split pay option on the discounted lifetime access. And actually, it's a fixed term membership site anyway. So, even if you did sign up for the monthly, it ends at some point and you're a lifetime member. So, what I decided to do, and to make it fair for everyone, is I've decided to take the discounted price and split it up into 4 equal payments and still yet give you a 14-day trial before you have to make the first monthly commitment. So you're going to pay just slightly more that route than paying the one-time option. But, it's not a lot more, and it's basically just going to cover the processing fee since there's going to be actually 5 different times for the processing. It's actually just going to pay for the processing fee. So I'll wind up getting maybe $1 more than if you made the one-time payment. Maybe $1.50. I don't know exactly, but it's mainly just going to cover those processing fees. So to make that fair for everybody, I mean, if I'm going to offer a split pay on the one-time option, I went ahead and just did away with the 11 payments and made it just 4 payments as well. So now you have that option. Now, guys, I want to tell you on this new website, this new membership site, the main goal is for me to be able to work with you guys on a much closer basis and for you have somebody that you can go to get questions answered and to help you when you're stuck. I mean, most all you guys know that, I'm a tech wizard. I love the techie side of stuff. Um, and I've been doing enough marketing to I know a lot about that as well. Um, so, the business strategy calls are key for everybody, to do those and on a regular basis. And then, to use the email coaching as much as possible. The email coaching, could be for, questions that you don't have to have an immediate answer for. Now, on the business strategy calls themselves, even though it says 1 per month, I don't make people stick to that 1 per month. Um, John's not on our call here tonight, but over the past 2 weeks, I bet I've talked to John 5 times. Um, Roy, I've talked to you a couple of times in the last week. So, and then, there's other things that we do on those calls besides talk about, you know, some of the problems you're having. It may be that, I can help you in some way to get you over a hurdle, and I've done that. I do that for people. If you're willing to share, the access info to get in to fix a problem on your website, I'll make time to go into your website and see if I can fix the problem. Now, guys, there ain't nobody else that you're going to get coaching from that's going to do that for you. You ask Alex Jeffries or Jason Fladlin or Will Matos or James Jones or any of them, if they'll log into your website and fix your squeeze page. If they don't laugh you out of the room, they're going to say, yeah, for $500 or $1,000, I'll do it. And guys, I do this as a favor to help you guys to get you over that hurdle. So $97 for a lifetime mentor, that's somebody that you can bounce your ideas off of and to help you get over, problems that you're having. And like I said, occasionally logging into your website and helping you fix some technical issue. I couldn't tell you how many times I've helped Patricia logged into one of her websites and fixed something for Patricia. I've known Patricia since 2010. I bet I've logged into her websites a couple, 3 dozen times to fix things for her. So, you need to think of it like that. Yeah, the info that you're getting there, it's, if you've bought Sean Mice's resale rights, you probably have a lot of it. But that's not the goal of the website, to recycle Sean's trainings. They're there for you to learn from, sure. But the main goal is for me to work close with you guys to help you get set up with a flagship funnel, a product funnel of your own, so that you have something that all you have to do is send traffic to it. And it can be the lifeblood of your business, when whatever business model or niche you want to work in. So, I know this is sounding like a promo for the I Am with Sean. I know that's what it sounded like, and I didn't really want to come on here and sound like that. But I just wanted to reiterate to you guys, and like I said, I had several people ask about if there was a way I could split up that discounted one-time price into multiple payments. So I thought about it. So I'm even going a step further and helping you guys to get access at a cheaper rate that, it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. And like I said, these are lifetime accounts. You can go on to my You Can Book Me page, and you can schedule a call anytime you want. And if you need more than one call a month, that's not a problem. You just schedule a slot that's open, and that's your slot. And we'll work on or talk about whatever you want to during that call. And I don't try to sell you guys nothing. Any of you guys that have been in on any of these calls, I don't never try to sell you nothing. I might recommend that you might need to get something, if you're wanting to do something that, you know, and you don't have whatever it takes to do it. I might recommend that you go get something, but I'm not even going to tell you affiliate links or anything like that. I'm just going to tell you, hey, you might need to get this. Then, it'll make it so much easier. And you guys know that I don't never recommend something I don't use myself, so I'm not going to tell you to go get something that, I've not even tried myself to know whether it works or not. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say about the I Am a Sean challenge. You guys really need to think about that. It's a rare opportunity, and I don't know for how long I'm going to do this. I mean, it could be that I get people in there that takes up all of the time, and I have to just shut it off. Um, I want to help everybody that comes in. That's my main goal is to help everybody that comes in, but there are limits to everything. There's only so many hours in the day, and I've got things that I want to do too. I can't dedicate all of my time to helping everybody, never getting nothing of my own done. So, like I said, take advantage of it if at all possible. I'm even making it easier for you to do that now. Roy says, I've had you help me fix tech problems several times and you've not charged anything. Yeah, I don't charge anything extra to go in and do this stuff. There was a guy from London that cannot make our calls that I finally worked it out to where I could get on a phone call with him. And, it was like semi late for him, real early for me, but I made the time to get on a call with him just so I could help him fix his AWeber setup. He wasn't sure if he had his AWeber set up before he could start driving traffic to his squeeze page. So I made the arrangements in my own personal schedule to work with this guy and logged in to his AWeber account and verified that everything was set up. And, I didn't charge him anything for it. It blew him away. You're not going to charge me anything for this? No, this is what I do. I like to help people. Jimmy says, share the link again. Uh, Dana says whether I have a chance to add something new. Well, Dana, it's not adding something new. Like I said, the goal of the site is to help people when they need help, to give you somebody that you can call that you need, when you need help with something. And yeah, there's a business model training in there, but that I'm not saying you have to follow that business model training. That's my own personal business model. It's the one that Sean Mice uses, and it works for me. I'm not saying you need to follow that training and do what's in that training. There's going to be daily lessons in there on various different topics. That some of it might hit on something that you're doing, and that's the training portion of it. But the big thing is to have somebody that you can go to. That's the big thing. That's what the site is mainly set up for. Yeah, I'm showing you my business model, what definitely works. If you follow it, you will be successful. That's everybody wanted to have that. Everybody wants to have a plan that they can follow. So that is a big part of the website. But the main part of the website is to give you guys somebody that you can go to when you're having problems or want to ask questions, want to seek advice. Somebody that you can go to for that. Because, like I said, you can't get Alex Jeffries, you can't get Jason Fladlin, you can't get Will Mattos, you can't get James Jones, you can't get any of them guys to answer a personal question for you. They're going to first off send you off to one of their people on their team, and that person is going to try to upsell you to a $2,500 or $5,000 coaching program. So, that's the goal with the site, Dana. Yeah, there's a business model training in there, but it's not that I'm wanting you to follow that. If you want to follow that business model, it's there for you to follow. Jimmy's wanting the link. Let me see if I can type that in there for you. Oh, and by the way, I know there's one person on the call who it's on the monthly plan. I'm going to make sure that you guys only get charged the 4 payments as well, because there's no sense in uh, you guys having to pay the original 11 payment thing when I'm going to do that for all the new people. So I'm going to make sure that you guys are on the 4 payment, the monthly payments. You only pay the 4 payments as well. I think I typed that right. Let me know if it works or not. Anyway, I didn't mean to go into that big long spiel about that. Uh, this is mainly for the people on the replays. Uh, Dana, you're already an SWR member, so you have access to this that help anyway. So, yep, that worked. Okay, great. So that's all I had to say tonight. Like I said, I didn't know we'd go this long. I really didn't figure we'd make it an hour. But I guess when you get me to talking about social media and what you should be doing there, I can talk a long time about that. You're probably going to want to, if you want more detail on what I just talked about tonight, look for my Mass Attack social media program. It's over on it's on both JV Zoo and Warriors Plus. It's on both of them. Um, I go into a lot more detail on all 4 of the different networks, the major networks. Okay, you guys have any other questions before we leave tonight? Like I said, I'm going to post over in the Facebook group about next Monday, starting next Monday, and we will be on a different time schedule. I'll give you guys the opportunity to work out what you think is best, and provided that I can work it myself. I'm thinking actually, like I said, mid-afternoon. So anyway, thanks for coming to the call tonight, guys. I hope you got something out of this. I hope you enjoyed that little video. Like I said, we'll have the real full video on the replay instead of the stream version, so you'll get to see how close it actually was in the real video. Now, it's not 100% perfect. I didn't spend a lot of time with it yesterday, But it did turn out pretty good, and it gives, like James said, gives you a good idea on how you can use some of that audio training. We all have, audio trainings on various things. I've got tons of audio trainings on stuff from, a few years back that's still relevant, but it's all MP3, and it does give you an idea on, how you can use something like that. So, I just wanted to show that to you guys because I thought it was pretty cool. Sean, like I said, wouldn't get the humor out of it, but who cares? Dana says, so your master attack is thanks, Rick, very, very helpful. Okay, not really sure what you meant with that first part. All right, guys, thanks for coming to the call. Y'all have a great week. If you want to get a hold of me, the email, the replay forms, the question thing on the replay forms, or the Facebook group. I try to make it a regular thing to go by the Facebook group at least once a day, see if there's any questions or whatever in there. But if you want to, you can send me email or um, send a question through the webinar replay forms. Have a great week, folks, and thanks for coming. Like I said, look for a post over in the Facebook group on about next Monday. Have a great night, folks.